So let's see today's lovely bhendi bhaji. Now here I've washed the bhendi really well by soaking it first in some water to which I've added some salt for 15 minutes and then thoroughly dried each and every okra or bhendi with a very dry kitchen napkin. This is very, very important. So otherwise you get, I mean, it should be completely dry so you don't get that stringy effect of the bhaji. Now I'm going to cut off both ends, that is the both ear tips, and it's very important to check whether there are any worms or there's any dirt in the bhendi. It should be completely very clean and clear. So that's a very important step. So as you cut off the tips of each of the bhendis, and while you're cutting the bhendis, also keep an eye for this. um After cutting off the edges, first I do that. I cut off all the edges and then I just, hold a bunch of them together. And then using a serrated knife, I try to cut them very, very fine. So I'll show you a closer look because the thinner the slices are, they cook really well and you get that lovely crispy and crunchy bhendi bhaji, which, generally everyone likes to have rather than the sticky and gooey one. So cut them into these very, very fine, half an inch thickness, of the bhendi. Now, if you're a beginner and you just can't hold all of them together, it's okay if you cut each okra or bhendi separately, but try to cut them really, really fine. And mind your fingers, so just keep a gap as you're cutting. Now, when you cut, when you wash the bhendis really well and dry them really well, you'll see that you don't get these, the generally when you cut bhendi, you get this, stringy kind of a consistency. But when you cut them, I mean, dry them up really well, then you don't. So that's a very important step too. So now that we've prepped up the bhendi, let's start with the recipe. So here I've heated about 2 tablespoons of oil. Now you do require a little extra oil for this bhaji to get it really nice and crispy. Now once my oil is nice and hot, I'm going to add half a teaspoon of mustard seeds, also called mori or rye. Let the seeds really splutter. Then I'm going to add half a teaspoon of cumin seeds or jeera. This is generally what I add for most of my veggies. Then I'm going to add half a teaspoon of hinga or asafoetida and half a teaspoon of haldi powder or turmeric powder. Now this is amsula. I'm going to add that, which is also called kokum. Now what this does is it doesn't, the stringy effect of the bhendi completely goes away when you add this amsula because it's a kind of a souring agent and it also elevates the taste of this dish. Now I'm going to add the very thinly sliced okra or bhendi and I'm going to really fry it very well in this oil. That's why we've used a little extra oil. Now one more tip over here is don't cover the vessel or the pot when you're cooking bhendi or okra. You have to cook it without a lid. So I'm going to cook it on a low to medium heat and I'm going to continuously, stir in between. So let it cook and then just, the ones that are getting fried at the bottom, just bring them up on the top. And we want this to be nice and crunchy. So each and every, slice of bhendi should be fried very, very well. So this does take a little longer time than normal veggies. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes, but this is what we're looking for. The entire color, it changes from a light green color to a dark green color, and each and every slice is nice and, fried. Now I'm just going to add some salt to taste. Then I'm going to add some chili powder. So I'm adding about half a teaspoon of chili powder, but you can add according to taste, salt also according to taste. Now I'm going to add half a teaspoon of roasted cumin powder. And I'm going to add a tablespoon of roasted coriander powder. Now I'll leave the link of how do I prepare my roasted powders at home. And then let it fry really, really well. And that's it, friends. This lovely crispy okra is ready. And I love to serve this with dal and rice. It tastes amazing. So do give this recipe a try. So friends, let's see this delicious and healthy recipe of gevda bhaji. Now I'm going to show you how to clean it. So you have to take off the tips as I'll show you and you will see this string kind of thing coming off. So do that at both ends. So don't wash the gevda first. First we're going to clean it. Now just pop it open like this, like you would with a green pea or matar. Check the beans inside. If they are soft or if they look rotten, then just get rid of them. And then just tear the, with your fingers, just tear the gevda into these small pieces like this. Now you may encounter strings, more than once. So that's why it's preferable to do it by hand rather than using the knife. So do get rid of the strings. Do otherwise, when you're eating the vegetable, it will really create havoc. So check for the inside that the beans are good inside. And yes, friends, you do encounter a little bit of, you know, uh, vegetable worms inside. So get rid of those also. I'll show you after, when I finish cleaning, I'll just show you what you should not be using and what you should get rid of. So then with your hands, just stir it because every time, you might get the string or you might not get the string. So this is a real healthy vegetable and which you can include in your diet. It has many health benefits like all green veggies do. So, while I was cleaning, the ones over here luckily were all very good, but I just had about two or three which had a little bit of, rotten beans inside. Some of them did have vegetable worms, about just one or two. So I had to throw those out, but I will show you what you should get rid of. So now I'll show you what, this is the end result. I've just cleaned it up. So now if you find something looking like this, which is rotten, which has a grayish or a brownish effect inside, where the beans are very soft and mushy, or they look, really old and dried up like this, or they have like a very soft, grayish texture, then get rid of that. Luckily, I had a good, the whole thing was nice, just a few of them. Now I've taken some water in a large bowl. I've added a little bit of salt to it, and I'm just going to add this vegetable to it, and I'm going to soak it for about 15 minutes. It's very, very important that you clean your veggies very, very well. Now, some vegetables you have to clean, soak them first and then clean them, and some you have to clean first and then soak them. So it all depends. But I have explained in all of my videos as to what is the process. So let it soak for about 15 minutes in this water to which salt has been added. And then I'm going to just take a colander which I've placed on top of a vessel. And I'm just going to drain all of this, or just lift it up like that and put it over there. And again, I'm going to run it through some running water, that is through the colander itself, through my running water in my wash basin of my kitchen, or my kitchen sink rather. Again, I'm going to rinse it really, really well. So this is how you prep your gevda, and the recipe is very simple. So once you have finished prepping, you can always do this a day ahead also. So now I've just heated up a pan on a low flame. To that I'm going to add about 1 tablespoon of oil. Now once the oil is nice and hot, we're going to add our other ingredients, our 4D or tadka ingredients, which is half a teaspoon of mustard seeds or mohri or rye. Let them splutter well. When they begin to splutter, you're going to add half a teaspoon of cumin seeds or jeera. Next, I'm going to add half a teaspoon of asafoetida or hinga and half a teaspoon of turmeric or haldi powder. So for those of you watching most of my recipes, you know that the simple vegetables, especially the Maharashtrian way of making it, just requires these few ingredients for the fooding. So now mix everything really well in the oil, and you're going to add your cleaned up gevda to it, or flat beans, and you're going to mix everything really, really well together. So mix everything well so that the vegetable nicely get coated with the foodni or the bagar. Now this vegetable can be had with some puris or chapatis or some dal, rice, I mean, anything. It's just a an accompaniment to any nice meal. And now what we're going to do is we're going to cover it with a lid, and we're going to put a little bit of water to the lid. Now, if you're using a leather, the glass lids with the handle that we generally have at home, you can just cover it with a lid. You don't need to add any water initially. Now, every 3 minutes, just stir it in between. Carefully lift the lid. Just stir it in between every 3 minutes and add a little bit of the water because the water has now become hot. So you can add a little bit of the water so it helps the vegetable to cook. So if you're using a cover with a lid, a glass cover with a handle, just add a little bit of warm water or just sprinkle a little bit of warm water on top so that helps the vegetable cook. So just do this for about 8 to 10 minutes till the gevda is nice and cooked. It takes about 8 to 10 minutes on a low flame. Never cook on a high or flame, always cook on a low flame so the vegetable gets nicely cooked. Now you can see that the gevda is nicely cooked. It becomes a darker green color when it's cooked. So now we're going to add all the lovely seasonings. So I'm going to start by adding salt to taste. Now always add a little salt initially, otherwise then you can always add the salt later after you've tasted it. Never add too much salt because very salty food is not good for health and nobody likes to eat extra salty food. Now I'm just going to add half a teaspoon of red chili powder. Then I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of goda masala or kala masala. I have my homemade goda masala recipe. I'll leave it in the link below. If I forget to do so, just type goda masala akshata's recipes in the YouTube search button and you will find it. That's the easiest way to find my recipes. Just type the recipe. Like you're looking for upma, just say upma akshata's recipes and mine will pop up. So now I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of ghee or jaggery. If you're not used to using ghee or jaggery, you can even add a pinch of sugar. A little sweetness, elevates the flavor of this dish. And we're just going to cook everything for another 2 minutes till everything really comes together nicely. Now you could add some grated coconut also for garnish, but I didn't want to add it. I just like to have it plain like this. And your gevda bhaji is all ready, guys. So I hope you will try out this recipe and do leave your comments in the comment section. So friends, let's start with today's recipe. Now here I've taken about 1.5 cup of moong and I've just washed it thrice under running water and soaked it for about 6 to 7 hours or overnight. Now we'll go through the other ingredients. So this is the dal. I've drained out all the water. This is 1 light green chili cut finely, some coriander, some curry leaves, some cumin, some turmeric powder, some asafoetida or hing, and some mustard seeds, and a lime. All the ingredients with the exact measurements will be given in the description box below. So here I've just heated about 1.5 tablespoon of oil. To the oil, I'm going to add my mustard seeds and wait till they pop. Once they pop, I'm going to add my green chilies and fry the green chilies well. Then I'm going to add a little bit of hing or asafoetida. Then go in my curry leaves. Let the curry leaves also fry a bit. Then I'm going to add my turmeric powder or haldi powder. Then I'm going to add my jeera or my cumin seeds. And then I'm going to add this soaked moong dal. That's it, friends. That's all you require. Of course, a little bit of salt. And that's it. So now we're just going to give this all a nice mix so it gets well incorporated with the rest of the bagar or the fodni. Now this recipe was shared by my very close friend Pavitra Sargaonkar, and this is my daughter Ira's favorite. She loves to eat this. It's so easy to prepare, it gets ready quickly, and it's really very delicious. Now I'm going to add some salt to taste. I'm going to add a pinch of sugar. Now we're going to mix everything very well. See that you fry everything nicely so that everything gets nicely mixed up together. And now we're just going to add a little bit of water, because we want to cook the dal a bit. So just enough water to cover up the dal. So if you're taking 1.5 cup of moong dal, then about 2 cups of water should suffice. And now let this cook on a low to medium flame. And we're going to let all the water evaporate. So first let it come to a boil. And then we're just going to cover and cook it and stirring in between just to check. And we want all the water to evaporate. That's when our moong dal bhaji is all ready to eat. Now I also have a recipe for moong dal bhaji. I will leave a link below. And that's it, friends. Our water has all evaporated. Our vegetable is ready. And we just have to add a squeeze of lime and some fresh coriander. So add in the coriander, mix it in well, then turn off your gas and add your lemon juice. This goes very well with some nice hot chapatis or puris. So that's it, and I'm going to add my lemon juice. Now one tip over here, if you're squeezing the lemon directly, always squeeze the lemon juice into a spoon. That way if there are any lemon seeds or lemon pips, you can pick them out and you don't have to search for them in the vegetable. And then just mix and your dish is all ready to serve. Karachi bhaji recipe or cluster bean recipe. So here I've taken 200 grams of gavar, taken off the ends, and then with my hands itself I've just broken them up into half-inch pieces like this. And then I'm going to soak them in water for about 10 minutes and then give them a thorough rinse and keep them in a sieve or sift. Now I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of oil to a pan. And once the oil is nice and hot, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of mustard seeds or mohri or rye. So this is a half teaspoon that I'm using. So I'm using 2 of them. That makes 1 teaspoon. Next goes in half a teaspoon of cumin seeds or jeera, half a teaspoon of asafoetida or hing, and half a teaspoon of turmeric powder or haldi. So this recipe doesn't have any kind of, no onions, no ginger, no garlic, no green chilies, just a very simple recipe. And now I'm going to add the gavar, which I rinsed really well and kept it in a sieve for about 5 minutes. Now watch the video till the end because I'll give you a little bit of tips on how to buy gavar when you're buying this cluster beans. Now mix the gavar really well with the oil and all the ingredients so that it flavors the gavar really nicely. And now this vegetable is enough for 4 people. If you want more, then you can double all the ingredients. And now we're going to add salt to taste. Now the reason I'm adding salt right now is because it helps to cook the gavar to the right consistency. And it even flavors the gavar really well. So we add we add salt at this point, not at the end. Like in some vegetables, when we're cooking them, we add salt later on, but for gavar, we add it first. And now I'm just going to put a plate on top of it, and I'm going to add some water to the plate. And our flame is going to be on low. And we're going to keep this for about 5 minutes without stirring. After 5 minutes, you will see that there are some bubbles on top of the lid. Now what you're going to do is you're going to lift up the lid extremely carefully, and you're going to put in about half of the water from the lid into the gavar and mix it well. So this will cook the gavar really, really well, and it won't be rough, and it won't be tough on to eat. It'll get cooked really nicely. And now we're going to keep this again for about another 2 to 3 minutes, and all of the water has evaporated. And now we're just going to season it with some other few ingredients. So now I'm going to add a little bit of a few ingredients. I'll just take you through them. So first goes in 1 teaspoon of red chili powder. Next, I'm going to add about 2 teaspoons of goda masala or kala masala. Now this is homemade goda masala or kala masala. So I'll leave a link to the recipe of how I make it. It's very simple. And now mix all of this really nicely together. Now you can see there's a little bit of liquid or water remaining. Most of it has evaporated. And now I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of jaggery or ghul, grated jaggery or ghul, and mix everything nicely together. And now we're just going to cover it and keep it for just about 1 minute. And that's it, guys. Now all you have to do is just add some lovely fresh grated coconut, about a teaspoon or so, and mix it in well. And the coconut is also optional. If you don't want to add the coconut, you can leave it out. And now mix everything well together, and your gavar bhaji is all ready. This is one of my favorite vegetables. A really easy recipe. Now for my homemade goda masala, which I make and I store and it lasts me for about 4 to 5 months. I'll leave the recipe down in the description box. It's very simple and it gets ready also pretty quickly. Now when you're choosing your cluster beans or your gavar, there are certain things that you need to keep in mind. First of all, they should be very light green in color, not a very dark green in color. Also, they should be very firm when you touch them. They shouldn't be soft. They shouldn't have gone, discolored, have any blackish tinge in them. But they should look nice and firm. And, sometimes if the vendor allows you, the vegetable vendor, you can take one of them and just, break them, and you should get that click sound. It should not be a soft sound. So these are the things you need to keep in mind, that, go for the more lighter green color gavar. They should be nice and firm. They should not look soft. They should not have any blackish tinge in them. and those are the key points you need to keep in mind when you're buying gavar. So that's it for today's video. I'll join you in my next video sooner than you think. This is Akshata signing off. Take care, guys. Bye.